Hi there, and welcome to the Indie Pop Girl, the podcast where you'll find music chat, new releases, hidden gems, and nostalgic deep dives. I am back with another episode, and we are halfway through the Pop Girl series. And for this episode, we are staying in 2023, and I'll be discussing Guts, the sophomore album from pop superstar Olivia Rodrigo. Guts is the second studio album by singer-songwriter Olivia Rodrigo and was released on the 8th of September 2023 through Geffen Records. Olivia collaborated with Dan Nigro with the songwriting, with additional collaborations with Amy Allen and Julia Michaels. The production duties were handled by Dan Nigro, with some additional production from Ian Kirkpatrick, Alexander 23 and Ryan Linville. The record also features some background vocals from a then virtually unknown Chappell Roan, who also worked with Dan Nigro on her debut, which I've already talked about on the podcast. The result is a sonically cohesive, tight pop rock record with a balance of upbeat bangers with softer ballads. Guts displays Olivia's skill as a songwriter in so many aspects and themes. She continues the heartbreak displayed in her debut Sour, but here she takes it even further. The heartbreak is still present in patches, but she also explores her humour into her songwriting, struggles with identity, leaving behind her teenage years and transitioning into a young woman. Sour was hugely successful, which followed the viral success of her debut single, Driver's License. Olivia won the Best New Artist Grammy Award, and the pressure to deliver a follow-up must have been difficult for Olivia, but Guts definitely doesn't suffer from the sophomore slump. Instead, she channels all her energy into the record, and working with Dan Nigro again was such a smart move. They really do work well together, and it's so impressive how they took the foundations of what made Sour so successful and elevated Guts even further. I think the production is impressive for a pop record, but the thing about Olivia is that you really can't put her fully in the pop mould. Her love for punk, rock and alternative styles is evident, and she knows her strengths and what works well to fit her sound. I read that Olivia already had the Guts title in mind when making the Sour record, and she said it was influenced by the interesting context in how people use the word. For example, to spill your guts, hate your guts, and the record definitely lives up to the title. Olivia explores both, and even though she is still so young, I feel like Guts is a record that so many people will relate to, young or old. She has got that commercial appeal, and her no-nonsense lyrical approach is so refreshing. So, before I start to dive into the tracks, I always like to give you guys some context and why I have chosen Guts as part of the Pop Girl series. I'm probably in the wrong demographic to enjoy Olivia's music, but I'm going to say this, fuck it. If you enjoy it and you connect with something, then age does not matter whatsoever. There are no rules, and yes, I enjoy Olivia's music. I love her lyrics. I love how direct and blunt she can be at times and isn't afraid to drop the fuck bomb when she needs to. I listened to Sour quite a lot during 2021, and my awesome mother-in-law got me a copy of the vinyl for Christmas that year. I still play the tracks like Brutal, Deja Vu and Good For You. They're such great pop songs in my opinion, and I loved her Tiny Desk performance at the Driving Test Centre during the pandemic. She showed so much character, and watching Olivia's all-female band perform with her was a joy to watch. I love how she blends some of the genres of music I was listening to in my teenage years, but she is still completely unique. I think Guts captures the nostalgia and contemporary pop music so well, and I feel that gives her wider appeal in the pop world. She also blends her signature pop punk with indie pop, shoegaze, folk, and even new wave. She stands completely on her own, but takes her influences and inspirations with her. She has the knack in what works for her sound, and Dan Nigro's colourful production is well suited to her style. I love Olivia not just for her awesome pop music, but for her wonderful personality. She comes across as a lovely, down-to-earth person with so much kindness and compassion. She isn't afraid to speak up about politics or spreading awareness on subjects through her social media. She absolutely smashed her headline performance at Glastonbury this year and proved a lot of the doubters wrong. Her stage presence was a joy to watch. She was having the best time of her life, but at the same time, she still remains humble and grounded. I couldn't believe it when Robert Smith appeared and performed with her. It was such a special moment, and for a contemporary pop artist to have respect from people like Robert Smith is a rare thing. She's even performed with Billy Joel and David Byrne, complete legends in the game, and even Elvis Costello backed her up when Brutal was released. I had to include Olivia as part of the Pop Girl series, as she is killing it at the moment. Her approach to pop music is so unique, and like Caroline Polachek, who I discussed last week, both women explore and experiment with so many different styles and diverse sounds. As much as I love her debut, Guts was a no-brainer when I was planning this series, and I feel like Guts is the record that I connected to more out of the two, and hopefully, album number 3 won't be that far away now. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I will not be playing clips of the songs, so if you are curious, then please support the artists I cover by streaming, downloading, or buying physical copies. Thank you. Track 1, All American Bitch. There really isn't a better way to open Guts than with this track. All American Bitch comes storming in with a blast of pop punk energy, immediately showing off Olivia's sharp wit and full-on attitude. The lyrics are so clever. She's playing with the idea of the impossible standards put on young women, expected to be polite and soft-spoken, but also confident and strong at the same time. There's this constant push and pull between being the perfect American girl and letting all the frustration bubble over. And you can feel her rolling her eyes through every sarcastic line. It's high energy, it's fun, and a little unhinged in the best way. But underneath it, she's pointing at how exhausting it is to try to live up to those expectations. Vocally, she nails that balance too, switching between sweet and melodic in one breath, and then shouting with pure punk fury in the next. It's a performance full of confidence, irony, and fire. I also love the nod to Lana Del Rey in the outro with the line, "I'm pretty when I cry." Olivia has openly said Lana has been an inspiration, and even though this track doesn't sound like Lana at all, that reference feels like such a sweet homage. Track 2, Bad Idea Right. The transition into Bad Idea Right is seamless. It picks up the attitude from the opener, but takes it in an even cheekier, bratty direction. Olivia leans fully into this messy, chaotic energy, and it's so much fun to listen to. Lyrically, it's all about knowing you shouldn't go back to an ex, but doing it anyway because temptation gets the better of you. That push and pull between common sense and reckless desire is something so many people can relate to, and she captures it with a wink and a grin. What makes this track pop is the personality she pours into it. From the playful spoken word delivery to the exaggerated backing vocals and cheeky ad-libs, Olivia really brings out the humour in the situation. The line, "just tripped and fell into his bed," is such a highlight. It sums up that half-hearted attempt at pretending it was an accident, when really, she knows exactly what she's doing. I love the second pre-chorus when Olivia uses her voice in the production and slowly progress her voice into an unhinged scream, and then followed by the "fuck it, it's fine" line. It just adds the fun and bratty side of the track. Musically, the pop rock instrumental has this scrappy garage band feel that fits the bratty vibe perfectly. It's rough around the edges in a deliberate way, making it sound like it could have come straight out of a high school basement jam session, but polished enough to still feel like a big pop single. It's Olivia at her most playful, proving she can take a messy situation and turn it into a track that feels both relatable and irresistibly fun. Track 3, Vampire. After the bratty chaos of Bad Idea Right, Olivia slows things down with Vampire, but don't let that fool you. This ballad is still just as powerful and dramatic. Like Driver's License, it's piano driven at the core, but it builds and builds until it explodes into this huge climax. The progression feels so satisfying. The piano leads the way, the drums and synths crash in, and Olivia's vocals soar over everything. It's such a perfect showcase of her ability to take a song from intimate and vulnerable to absolutely epic. Lyrically, Vampire is one of the darkest cuts on the record. She's reflecting on being drained by someone who took advantage of her. The imagery of a bloodsucker captures that feeling of being used in a way that's both dramatic and painfully real. There's anger, there's heartbreak, and there's that sharp edge of sarcasm too, making it so much more than a straightforward breakup song. You can feel her pain and frustration being used and exploited by this person in the chorus. The way you sold me for parts as you sunk your teeth into me. Bloodsucker, fame fucker, bleeding me dry like a goddamn vampire. Her vocal performance here is stunning. She moves between soft, delicate delivery and full powerhouse belting with total ease, really showing off her range and emotional control. One of my favourite touches is the creative layering of the backing vocals, especially that haunting "How do you lie" refrain. It's little details like that which take the song to another level. As the lead single, this was the perfect introduction to the Guts era. It has the drama, the emotional honesty, and the sense of growth in her songwriting that immediately told us Olivia wasn't just repeating Sour, she was pushing herself further. Track 4, Lacey. Lacey is such a standout moment on the record, and honestly one of my favourites too. It feels so different in mood, delicate, dreamy, and almost hypnotic. The track starts out with this gentle indie folk style, but as it unfolds, it blossoms into something more ethereal, with shades of dream pop that really sweep you away, especially in the instrumental break. It's gorgeous, layered, and quietly devastating. A lovely detail is that the backing vocals here come from Chapel Roan, which adds an extra shimmer to the track. There's also some clever vocal production on Olivia herself in the second verse. The effects on her voice make her sound almost childlike, fragile and innocent, which fits the theme of longing and obsession so beautifully. Lyrically, Lacey is fascinating because it's so open to interpretation. On the surface, Olivia is fixated on this girl, admiring her beauty, her perfection, her presence. But the way it's written leaves you wondering, is Olivia in love with her? Does she want to be her? The dazzling starlet, Bordeaux reincarnate line in verse 2 could allude to Sabrina Carpenter. I could be wrong here, but could link Sabrina from the love triangle in Driver's License. In that song, Olivia hinted to Sabrina with the line, "And you're probably with that blonde girl. She's so much older than me. She's everything I'm insecure about." It's clever, thoughtful songwriting linking both songs together. And I read that Lacey was born in a poetry class Olivia wrote in college in 2022. Lacey could read more of a metaphor, standing in for something darker, like insecurity, envy, or even depression. I only mention depression as in verse 1, Olivia ends the verse saying, "Did I ever tell you that I'm not doing well?" Lacey could be that voice in Olivia's head, that voice that eats her away, those bad thoughts that creep in. It's never made totally clear, and that's what makes it so haunting. Personally, I love that ambiguity. It lets listeners project their own feelings onto the song, which why it hits so deeply. Track 5, Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl. After the softness of Lacey, Olivia slams straight back into the pop punk with Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl. This track is heavier and more full throttle than the opener, with thick guitars and a driving bass line that give it real bite. It's no surprise it ended up Grammy nominated in a rock category. That's such an impressive achievement for someone often labelled strictly as a pop artist. Olivia proves here that she can thrive in this lane, and honestly, it feels like one of her greatest strengths. There's such a bratty energy to the delivery, sarcastic, exaggerated, and so fun. It definitely calls back to bands like Paramore, and you can totally imagine Hayley Williams belting this one out. What's clever though is the contrast between the sound and the subject matter. Despite the loud, chaotic instrumentation, Olivia is really singing about social awkwardness and anxiety, those cringy moments where you feel like you don't fit in. The title might make you expect a soft ballad, but instead, she's screaming her frustrations into a wall of guitars. That tension between humour and genuine insecurity is what makes the song so relatable. Everyone's had those moments of blurting out the wrong thing, feeling out of place, or replaying awkward encounters in your head. I love the outro and the line, "Can't think of a third line." It's just so funny to leave that in, and by this point it seems like Olivia has completely said everything that she wanted to say, and she is done. Olivia captures that spiral perfectly, right down to the dramatic sigh at the very end, like she's completely worn out from her own overthinking. Track 6, Making the Bed. Halfway through the record, Olivia shifts gears with Making the Bed. It's a real change in sonic direction, leaning into indie pop with dream pop textures, creating this hazy, atmospheric world. The production from Dan Nigro has that same weightless quality as Chappell Roan's Casual, with soft drums and shimmering sonics that let Olivia's voice float right on top. Her vocal here is one of the most vulnerable on the album. It's understated, but you can feel every ounce of emotion behind it. That's one of the things I admire most about her as an artist. She's not afraid to strip back the attitude and bravado and just wear her heart on her sleeve. When she sings about that sense of detachment and going through the motions, you really believe it. Musically, it's beautifully placed as the midpoint of the album, giving listeners a moment to pause and sink into something softer before the energy ramps back up. And then there's that electric guitar that comes in during the bridge. It's washed in effects, almost shoegazy, adding this dreamy, swirling layer that makes the whole track feel like you're drifting in and out of a daydream. It's one of the quieter songs on Guts, but it carries so much emotional weight. It shows Olivia's range, not just vocally, but emotionally. She can be bratty, funny, furious, but also deeply reflective and raw. Track 7, Logical. If I'm being really honest, Logical was probably my least favourite track on the album when I first heard it. But coming back to it while preparing this episode, I found a new appreciation for what Olivia is doing here. It's a ballad, but it's not stripped bare. There's actually a lot happening in the production, with subtle layers building as the song grows. By the end, her vocal delivery becomes so passionate that you can't help but get pulled into the emotion of it. What stood out most to me this time was how her verses reminded me of Chappell Rowan's delivery. Olivia and Chappell are close friends, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me if they've been bouncing ideas off each other creatively. There's a certain theatricality in the way she sings the lines, half spoken, half sung, that feels very Chappell, but still distinctly Olivia. Lyrically, Logical is all about the confusion and contradictions of being in a toxic relationship. You know the facts don't add up, you know it doesn't make sense, but you still find yourself believing lies because your emotions are tangled up in them. It's messy, it's frustrating, and Olivia captures that whirlwind of logic versus feeling so vividly. She sprinkles some great lines into the song. I love the "and I fell for you like water falls from the February sky." Some great imagery there. There's also a lot of toxicity, and it's clear that the relationship is fucked up, and this is displayed in the bridge. Olivia sings, "Argument you held over my head, brought up the girls you could have instead. Said I was too young, I was too soft. Can't take a joke, can't get you off. Oh, why do I do this?" He is obviously fucking with her head, making her feel insecure by bringing up other girls. The "get you off" is clever, as Olivia could mean that she is struggling to get rid of this person for good, or this could mean in a sexual context. I would say that Olivia is referencing not being able to pleasure him fully, with the relationship displaying toxic tendencies. I wouldn't be surprised if her ex berated Olivia of this, or the impact of him has taken its toll on Olivia and she is unable to fully engage sexually with him due to her anxieties. I just want to say, this ex-partner sounds absolutely horrid, and I hope Olivia is doing so much better now. Even if it's not the biggest standout on Guts, it has its place. It shows a different side of Olivia's songwriting, one that leans more into vulnerability and raw honesty, and that makes it worth sitting with. Track 8, Get Him Back. This has to be one of the most instantly fun tracks on Guts. Get Him Back is pure chaos in the best way, and it always puts me in a good mood whenever I hear it. From the bratty pop punk delivery to the tongue-in-cheek lyrics, Olivia absolutely leans into the humour and contradiction of wanting revenge on an ex, while also wanting them back. It's messy, it's petty, and it's hilarious, and that's exactly why it works. Her vocals are packed with attitude here, and you can tell she's having fun with every line. The Fly Me to France lyric is such a standout because it's so random, but that's part of the charm. It feels off the cuff, like something blurted out in a fit of frustration. That kind of unpredictability makes a song feel alive. Pop punk isn't always my go-to genre, but the way Olivia approaches it is irresistible. She injects so much spark, personality and wit into the performance that transcends genre. Every ad-lib, every shout, every sarcastic delivery is bursting with character. And of course, the chorus is ridiculously catchy. It sticks in your head just after one listen. It's bratty, it's playful, and captures that dramatic teenage mix of heartbreak and humour perfectly. No wonder it's become such a fan favourite. It's Olivia at her most cheeky and charismatic. Track 9, Love is Embarrassing. This is another absolute favourite of mine from Guts. Love is Embarrassing is one of those songs that grabs you instantly. The chorus is such an earworm. You found yourself humming it for hours afterwards. It leans into that indie pop rock sound, with Dan Nigro's production feeling vibrant, colourful and full of life. Every instrument sparkles here, giving it that fun, almost retro-tinged energy. Lyrically, it's Olivia poking fun at herself, looking back on her relationship and cringing at how foolish she feels for caring so much about someone who wasn't worth it. That mix of self-awareness, humour and honesty makes it so relatable. We've all been there, rolling our eyes at our own choices, and she captures that with the perfect blend of wit and vulnerability. The Crucify Myself line is such a striking moment, and it could very well be a nod to Tori Amos. Olivia has spoken about her admiration for Tori's work, and Tori's song Crucify is one of her most iconic. Whether it's a deliberate homage or just a lyrical coincidence, it adds another layer of depth to a track that might seem light-hearted on the surface. It's one of the shorter songs on the record, but doesn't need to be any longer. It says exactly what it needs to say and leaves you wanting to hit repeat, and that's part of its brilliance. Track 10, The Grudge. The Grudge feels like classic Olivia. It could almost sit alongside some of the ballads on Sour. It's piano-led, emotional, and carried by the sheer weight of her vocal performance. Right from the start, you can tell this song is all about the lyrics and the delivery. It's Olivia at her most raw and vulnerable. What's striking is the way the song builds. It's not completely stripped back, but it doesn't rely on flashy production either. Instead, it gradually layers in subtle instrumentation as the track progresses, letting the focus remain squarely on the storytelling and the emotion in her voice. That balance gives it such a timeless quality. Lyrically, it's all about unresolved feelings, the kind of heartbreak where you're still holding on to pain, anger, and unanswered questions long after a relationship ends. She's circling around those emotions, unable to let go, and you feel that heaviness in every line. It's not a song that grabs you straight away with a hook or a chorus, but its strength comes through after repeated listens. The more you sit with it, the more it reveals itself. I love the line in verse 2. The arguments that I've won against you in my head, in the shower, in the car, and in the mirror before bed. Haven't we all been there before? This is the album's title coming into play here. Having the guts to argue with this person, but instead of it actually happening, she reflects when she is all alone. It reminds me of Supercut by Lorde, where Lorde repeats the line at the end, "In my head I do everything right." Olivia pours so much passion into her performance here. You can hear the cracks, the breath, the intensity, all of those little details that make it feel so real. It's not about perfection, it's about honesty, and that's why it hits so hard. Track 11, Pretty Isn't Pretty. Pretty Isn't Pretty is one of the most affected songs on the record, and you can really hear how Olivia's love of The Cure has seeped into the sound. The jangly guitars, the slight melancholic indie pop feel, it all carries that same bittersweet energy, and it suits her voice so perfectly. Lyrically, this track cuts deep. Olivia is unpacking the endless cycle of insecurity and comparison, the feeling that no matter what you do, it's never enough. It's a message that so many girls and women will connect with, but it really is universal too. Lines like, "bought a new prescription to try and stay calm," hit especially hard because they capture that very real overlap between beauty standards, self-image and mental health. And the fact that someone as young, talented and beautiful as Olivia can still feel this way makes it even more relatable. She doesn't sugarcoat anything, she just tells the truth, and that honesty is what makes her music so refreshing. What's powerful here is the balance between vulnerability and strength. On one hand, the lyrics are raw and painful. On the other, the upbeat production gives it a kind of resilience, like she's finding a way to sing through the struggle. That duality, sadness wrapped in something sonically bright, feels like exactly what The Cure perfected, and Olivia carries that tradition forward here. It would be amazing to hear her expand on this sound more in the future, because it feels so natural for her. Pretty Isn't Pretty is proof that Olivia can channel darker, more alternative influences while still keeping her unique voice front and centre. Track 12, Teenage Dream. What a way to close out the record. Teenage Dream is such a powerful, emotional closer, a mature ballad that slowly builds in intensity until it completely sweeps you away. There's a tenderness in the verses that grows into something much bigger by the end, and it's hard not to feel a lump in your throat listening to it. Lyrically, it's Olivia reflecting on what it means to grow up, all the anxieties, the self-doubt, and the pressure that comes with being 19 and trying to figure out your place in the world. She captures that in such a universal way. Even if you're older, it instantly takes you back to those years of confusion and turmoil. That's what makes it so moving. She's able to take something deeply personal and make it resonate far beyond her own age. There's a wisdom in her writing that feels older than her years. Yes, she's drawing on her own teenage experiences, but there's a complexity to it that makes the song so much more than teenage angst. At its heart, it's about searching for direction in the middle of chaos. And that's something people can relate to at any stage of life. As the album closes, Teenage Dream leaves you with this bittersweet feeling, a mix of sadness, hope, and admiration for how honestly Olivia wears her heart on her sleeve. It's the perfect ending to Guts, showing both her vulnerability and her strength, and I can't wait to see how album number 3 unfolds. It wasn't just fans who fell in love with Guts, critics absolutely adored it too. On release, it picked up universal acclaim, with a Metacritic score in the 90s, which puts it right up there with the most celebrated pop albums of recent years. Reviewers praised Olivia for being bolder, messier, and more ambitious than on Sour, finding that perfect balance between bratty pop punk chaos and heartfelt ballads. Rolling Stone even called it an instant classic, while others highlighted how honest and unfiltered his songwriting feels. Commercially, it was just as huge. The album debuted at number 1 in 15 countries, and every single track entered the Billboard Hot 100. The Guts World Tour became one of the highest grossing first arena tours of the century, showing just how much her fan base has exploded since Sour. And of course, Guts went on to pick up 6 Grammy nominations, including Album of the Year and Best Pop Vocal Album. Vampire alone earned nods for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best Pop Solo Performance, while Ballad of a Homeschool Girl was even recognised in a rock category. That kind of crossover acclaim is rare, and it proves Olivia is much more than just a teen sensation. She is an artist with staying power, unafraid to push herself into new territory. What makes her so special is that she never hides behind polish or perfection. She wears her heart on her sleeve, whether she's screaming through pop punk or whispering over a piano ballad. That honesty is what makes her music connect across generations. It isn't just teenage angst. It's about trying to find your place in the world, and that's something everyone can relate to. With Guts, Olivia has proven she's not just a one-album wonder. The critical acclaim, the Grammy nominations, the record-breaking tour, triumphant Glastonbury headliner, it all shows she's cemented her place as one of the defining pop artists of her generation. And what's most exciting is that this still feels like just the beginning, and she'll always be a pop girl, no matter what genre she explores. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Threads at The Indie Pop Girl. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could follow and share, as it helps other music lovers to find the show. I am also on YouTube. You can find me at The Indie Pop Girl Podcast, and I'd be grateful if you could like and subscribe, as I'm creating content, shorts and posting teasers for upcoming episodes. I've recently made the brave move to join TikTok, and I'm working hard to create some good content for you. You can find me on TikTok at The Indie Pop Girl Podcast if you want to give me a follow. There's a public Spotify playlist available, and I've added some of my favourite tracks from the artists and records covered on the podcast. This will be updated as the episodes drop, so if you are curious with any of the artists and albums that I've covered, please give it a listen, and who knows, you might find a new discovery. You can find me on Spotify at The Indie Pop Girl, and the playlist is called favourite tracks from podcast episodes. I'll be back very soon with the next instalment in the Pop Girls series. I'll be talking about a record which was my lockdown hero during the pandemic. A debut record so bold, so diverse, and I can't believe it's 5 years old already. I hope you can join me. Until then, I'm Rachel, the Indie Pop Girl. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.